What do you think?
I think we can't steer it.
Oh yeah, no steering wheel. It's solid though. Solid and has a title. Now that I got this 73 Camaro home into the garage, and do a once over and take a look and see what we got. It's pretty much just a stripped down shell. Came with the title. 1,500 bucks. Yeah. Most people are going to say, oh my God, I'd never pay that for it. Well, I look at things a little different. If I can put a couple different cars together into a project, I can see the value. So, things that I want to keep here and things I don't want. First thing is, it's got a manual steering box hanging here, which I definitely don't want a manual steering box. And last one of those I sold, I actually got $150 for. Race guys kind of like those, so that's definitely going to go. It's an AC car, and since I'm planning to do this one as a resto rod, I'm going to keep AC. Just not sure how I'm going to do it yet. Obviously it has disc brakes, like 90% of these did, 99%. It was a yellow car. I don't completely hate yellow. Not crazy about this color, but never know on that. Prefer red, really. So, definitely needs floors. There's the AC part from under the hood. The guy gave me that with it. Got the full floor pans from the guy, so that was included. Got that along. It has 4 rally wheels, Chevy Rallies. I think these are 15 by 6 or 7, and these are definitely 15 by 8s, which I don't want those, so I'll sell those, get a little money back. Trunk is not horrible, but it does have some holes. I'll just replace that. Tail panel looks pretty good, which I'm amazed at that. Trunk lid is rusty. I'll see if I can get another one, better one. I did jack this up and spin it. The guy told me it's a 456 posi. And I took the cover off. And inside it has Richmond gear 456, and it is a posi unit. It did look like it had a little bit previous damage, but I couldn't see anything wrong with it. So I'll take that out of there, and I don't think I want to run 456s. 373 maybe. I'm thinking I'm going to use a T56 in it, so I have to figure out gearing and everything, what I'm gonna use. Yeah, there is some stuff here, but it's relatively straight. I think I'll get a grinder to it, sand it off, wire wheel it, and there might be some holes I can patch it. I don't want to replace the whole tail panel. It looks pretty good. Alright. I have a quarter for the other side. I'll see if I can find one for this side. I believe the 74 has good pieces in the back there I can use for patch panels. There are issues with the rockers here, but the 74 has really good ones, so I think I might use pieces of those to patch this. But the inner rockers are solid. So the first thing I'm going to do here is start with the floor pans. Get those put in. Oh, he also put new body mounts in. Energy suspension. Polyurethane body mounts. And then he gave me the rest of the kit. I guess these are the rad support bushings. Gave me a brake line, a bunch of odds and ends, side marker lights and retainers. That's about it. People would think I'm crazy to do this stuff, but this is the kind of stuff I like to play with. We'll see where we go from here. Sometimes when you're working on a project, you just want to throw your new stuff on and get the feel of if things are going to work out or not. I've had these wheels for, I don't know, 4 or 5 years. And I thought, well, let's see if they'll fit on this project. And I looked at them and I thought, man, that back spacing is so deep, they are going to not fit. It's like, well, let's give it a try. I don't think it's going to fit, but I put it on there and I actually have clearance. There's about 1.5 inches there. There's space to the shock. Once I get a tire on there, I know this is going to hit, but this is a very common spot where people just either cave that in or cut it and move it back in. But I think they're actually going to work. They're 18 by 9, and I have a set of 18/8 for the front. Of course, there's no front end at all, but I think I'll be able to make that work once. Yeah, I could do a little modification too. I don't have a problem with that. But that's kind of interesting. Of course, we got a long ways to go, but it gives me an idea of where I want to go with it. The wheels and tires that came on this Camaro are 275 60/15s, and this is an 8-inch rally wheel. I measured the back spacing on this. It was 4 1/4, so they fit okay. One thing I did see is if this car was lowered, it would most assuredly hit the outer wheelhouse. Unless you trimmed it a little, you might make it. There's plenty of space on the inside. It could go back 1 inch yet and still not hit, even the shock. So a 5-inch backspace, 5 1/4 would still work, which is what I have on the US mag wheels, even though they're 9s. These 18 by 9 US mags, I want to double check my back spacing here. I believe it's like 5, so put this straight edge across and measure down. And I get 5 1/4 there. So that's my backspace, 5 1/4. That's 1 inch wider, deeper backspace than the 15 by 8 rally wheel that's there. Often when I see wheels for sale, people tell me that they're 19 by 10, and the problem is people measure wheels this way. That's 10 inches wide. I know this is an 18 by 9. You measure inside to inside. There you get the 9. That's how a wheel is rated. Then on the diameter, if you measure the whole way across, I get 19 1/2 on this wheel. This is an 18-inch wheel. So you don't measure the overall size. They're rated bead to bead. So if you're looking at wheels on Facebook Marketplace and somebody says they're 16 by 9 and it has a 15-inch tire on it, it's a 15 by 8. You always have to double check that. Seems like nobody these days knows what they actually have wheel-wise. Okay, I picked up a few more pieces for it. Found this on Facebook Marketplace local. It's the correct 70 to 73 corner. $5. Probably cost me more in fuel to run the 15 miles to pick it up. And then found this one on Facebook Marketplace, but that one I needed shipped to me. That guy was, I believe, out in Ohio, and that was $50. So between the two, it was about $55, $60. And then yesterday, I went with my friend Larry up to Carlisle, about 45 minutes away, and I found this trunk lid. It's a little scaly on the top, but unlike the trunk lid that came on it, it's not all rusted out on the underside. It's in much better shape. There's a little surface rust here, but maybe, no, not even. I don't even think that's rusted through. But it's real solid up through here. I think this is off of, it says Berlinetta here. So this must be off of like 78 to 81. Much better shape. So now I have the complete spoiler. I like the big spoiler on these. That's what I like. That's what I'm getting. So, and this trunk lid came with the two corners. So now I have more of these, and I'll just sell them off. I don't need later model corners. I also got a trunk floor, which is still at Larry's house because I drove my car and I couldn't fit it in there. But found a guy up there that had a used, well, it wasn't a used trunk floor. It was a new aftermarket trunk floor that he did not use, and also a quarter. He had a full quarter. Goes the whole way up, except for some reason somebody chopped it up in this section, which I don't really need. I just need the lower part. And I got the quarter and the trunk pan for $75. That's a deal. So I have the floor pans that came with the car. I have the trunk pan to fix that. I have a quarter now. And over on the other side room, I have this quarter, a shot panel that I didn't use on my other Camaro. So I have all the steel to finish it. And of course, like I said, rockers need some fixing. But I don't think they're not that bad that I can't just either use parts from the other one or just fabricate that. So we're going to get to metal work here in a couple days, and hopefully within a week or so I'm going to have a full steel body ready to go. When I'm taking doors off, I like to get all the bolts out except for one, get it loose. The door's holding there, then I just lean up against it, take the last bolt out, and then carry it away. It wants to move right away. I do have an air ratchet, but I like to do things the hard way. Okay, watch out. Alright, with the doors out of the way, it's going to be a lot easier to work on this floor. Time to get cutting. So I just quickly threw these floor pans in here just to see if it's going to cover everything. Obviously these holes in the back have to be addressed separately. I think I can just do it with flat metal for the most part. I don't need to buy that big floor pan for that. And then in the front over there, it looks like I have everything I need to cover all the rust issues, you know, up to the toe board. This side, it's a little different. There's a little bit of rust above, but that I can just work with. I'll make some patch panels or whatever I need to for that, but it covers most of it. Looks like they might fit okay. Alright, so long process of fitting them up. First thing I'm going to do is get all this structure out of the way. This piece supports the dash up there, and all in bolts. I'm going to take that out, get that out of the way. The AC heater box internal piece, I'm going to get that out of the way. These kick panels are total junk. I'm going to take them out and throw them away. I have better than that. And that emergency brake over there. Get everything out of the way so I can operate in here closer to where I need to. One thing I noticed on these pans is they come up and they lip over, which doesn't make any sense at all. I'm sure that's just the way they pressed them, but that all has to go. At least back to here where it transitions up over. Alright, here we go. I don't know how anybody else would do this, but this is the way I like to do this. I'm going to take this apart in this old floor pan out in 3 separate pieces, sections. This is the back portion here. I want to get all this nasty ragged stuff out here and open up a nice even hole. I can cut it back in this section and over to the rocker and grind that away. And then I want to cut it up. There's a brace right here, a floor brace that also holds the seats. I got to cut it right behind that. I don't want to cut into the brace. I really don't want to. I might anyway because I'm just not accurate. But that'll open this space up so that I could work around it. Then I'll do the front section and get that cut out. And then this space between the part that's left in the middle between the 2 braces, I'll cut that out carefully because I don't want to really mess up the braces. And it's still solid there, but it just doesn't make sense to leave that and then put in 2 separate pieces. I'm just going to put the whole floor pan in, spot weld it to the new braces, and weld the perimeter. So here goes. Another reason I do it this way is it allows me to sneak up on these braces and peel the metal back without damaging them. I forgot that the frame rail actually comes up to this spot here, and that's what's holding it at this point. So I'll get this garbage out of my way and then work at cleaning it off of the frame rail. Sorry about that. Alright, I got that piece out, at least part of the piece. I completely forgot about this frame section back here, the reinforcement. Underneath here is a reinforcement plate that goes the whole way up into here. And I cut into that, so I forgot about that. So that's the kind of things that you got to look out for when you're doing this. So I got to grind out the spot welds here. I can feel them. Right, there's one, and there's one here, and I think there's one there. So, and then the floor pan is actually tucked behind that brace, so I'm not going to be able to weld that the whole way into there. I'm not going to take the brace out, so I'll have to stop the floor pan right at that location. That's kind of stuff I wish I'd think about before, well, I thought about these other braces, but I didn't think about that one. Oh well, make a mistake, you gotta fix it. Alright, now I got the front section cut out. Didn't finish the rear yet, but I wanted to just get as much cut out as I could to see where I'm at. This section right here needs to come out, but this, again, underneath there's a brace that goes up through there. I believe actually the body mount up here in the front is part of that brace. So this I'm going to have to just grind out from the top. And I cut it back here right to the brace that goes across under the front of the floor, or the front of the seats. And now I'm starting to think second thoughts. I said that I was going to put the whole floor pan in, but now that I realize these braces, which I don't want to disturb, they go on the outside of the floor pan, the pinch weld that's down underneath here. That brace right here is over top of that. So I would either have to notch out for that, or just leave this whole center section in here and just bring the back pan up across to this brace to cover all the rust here and leave all this good metal. And then likewise on this one, cut it back right on top of the brace, which would let me do the weld on top of the brace, and you'd never see a seam. Unless you get inside the car, take the carpet up, which I really don't care. Then I just have to finish the butt weld seams underneath as far as I can see them. I think that's what I'm going to do. So then I'll just not use the center section of the floor pan. I mean, that's the approach I'm thinking here on this side. And as I cut little bits out, it starts to let me see how I'm going to execute the replacement. This front section that I cut out came out in one piece. This is the emergency brake pedal, and the cable goes along the floor and goes down through the floor pan, and it has this bolt. It's bolted in, and then there's this brace that braces the floor pan, and the new one doesn't come with it, which it would be right here. So I got to save that piece and weld it onto this one. So I'll cut that out and try to get this off. That's going to be fun. That's rusted up. A bolt with through the floor pan with rust on it. All the things you got to look at when you're replacing floor pans. I got the back section all welded in. Took quite a while to fit it up. This still needs spot welded down along this section where I left the flange that goes down to the rocker. I'll get that from the underside later. These spot welds are all into the brace that goes right across here. These spot welds here are for the that go into the torque box down below. So from here around to here, I cut and butt welded it. From here around to here, and then from here to here was all lap welded, because especially this section, there was always something underneath. The brace is underneath here. The front spot welds for the brace are up here beyond this lap weld. So it's a combination. I've been doing a combination on stuff like this. Front section, I have this mostly all trimmed out. Here's this piece of the brace that I trimmed back past. And then this is the torque box in the front, the brace torque box where the body mount is. I cleaned that up with a wire wheel and hit it with some paint, letting that dry. And I'm just about ready to weld the pan in. But I think first I'll make the hole and put that brace for the emergency brake in. That nut did definitely not want to come off of there, so it needed a little persuasion from the hot wrench. Heated it up and then it broke loose. And I guess there was a lock washer underneath it, which just split in half. So I gotta thread that out of there and clean it off and weld it onto the new pan. Okay, there's a hole in the floor with the emergency brake bracket attached on the bottom. A couple of spot welds here and there. So that's done. Now it's time to put it in. It's in. Done. Yeah, I wish. I guess I got to weld. Alright, that piece is all welded in now, except for the spot welds I need to do from the underneath. So this side is done, except for little holes up here in the toe area. You have to fabricate that. Yeah, I really don't feel like doing that right now, so I'm gonna go to the passenger side, and that side I'm gonna replace the whole pan. It's a lot worse there in the middle. So I want to do that just because I want to get the bulk of progress done. I'm probably gonna have to replace some up there in the front to fabricate that, but once I get to that point, I'll do that, and then I'll come back over here and finish this spot. And then all the floors as far back as the rear seats will be done. And I don't know if I can get those pieces out of the 74 or if I'll have to order something to patch them in. That side over there I could almost fabricate. Almost. Well, I could if I want to, but I don't really feel like it. But I want to get all the metal I have welded in, get to this trunk pan and the quarters. There's that quarter I have for the driver's side. Get that done. Just want to get this thing in metal as quick as I can. Get this side patched up with this hacked up full quarter, and I pretty much decided I'm going to cut that pretty much in this section just like a half quarter, because this upper section's all ragged, and then the shape of this is not quite right to fit the flare, the corner flare, and the holes they drilled don't fit the corner flare. So, you know, as I usually do, try to keep as much of the original metal in there as possible. I'm not quite sure where I'll go with that. Anyway, I'm getting ahead. Let's get back to the floor. I'm cutting the old floor pan away a little bit at a time. I got these two braces all cleaned off. Have it cut over to where I want to splice. And I cleaned the floor pan off of that rocker as much as I could back to this location. That piece right there is still part of the old floor pan, but it's really tucked in there. I can't get it. But clean it all up as best as I can. I'm working on cleaning that section out there at that body mount brace corner thing. And then with the new floor pan, I'm cutting notches where the frame goes, or these braces. I have to cut them a little deeper because it's still sitting up too high. So trim those down and throw it in there and fit it again. When you're fitting a panel like this one, I can't imagine somebody actually cutting it and throwing it in there the first time and welding it in. It's a process of put it in and take it out at least 50 times. So I cut it little by little to get it to fit into the hole. And then when I got it down low enough, I took a tap and went through these. These are the seat holes. 4 holes for the bucket seat where that bolts down. So I scribed up through them and marked the holes for the through holes in the pan, and then drilled those 4 holes. And then I put it back in, and I pulled it down tight, and it's tight to those 2 braces, but it's still loose, still a gap back here. And when I pounded it down to that one, then I have a big wide gap where the floor pan doesn't cover, which I knew that was going to happen. But once I had it down where I knew that it should be, I scribed around the perimeter and up to this point, and I made a mark about where the existing floor pan is, wherever I could. It's here, and the braces prevented me from getting all of it. Here's a brace. And I also scribed across where the braces are, so then I'll know where to make my spot welds, holes. Same with this. This is the back, that brace. And then I'm going to trim a little bit more off of this to get it to sit down further, but I can't trim too much because the back end is still not down into that hole far enough. It's kind of a catch-22. You got to take some of this off to allow it to slide down into that taper further, but you can't take too much off because it's not the whole way down yet. So little by little, I'm going to cut some of that off. And then up here in the front, I need this material. Even though it's bent the wrong way, I'm going to take a hammer and dolly and just go around there and trying to flatten it out as much as I can to make it a little bit more usable. And there's about a 2-inch gap in the front, so I don't even know if that section's usable, but I might pound it anyway. We'll see how this part goes. I gotta straighten that out a little bit. That's the simulated seam where the firewall and the floor pan actually meet. But they just take one sheet of metal and bend those creases in to make it look like a seam. The factory piece is actually 2 different pieces overlapped. As long as it holds my feet in, that's all I care. It'll look good enough. All right. Cutting, grinding, pounding, more of each. Alright, that's enough beating. Let's try it again. As I put these bolts in, I just imagine bolting in the seat for the last time when the car is finished. I guess you gotta have a dream, don't you? A foot's a hammer, isn't it? All right. Back underneath with the scribe again. All right, that brace is really nice and tight there. I like to see that. This one looks pretty good. It's good the whole way over to here, and then in here at the tunnel there's a gap between the floor pan and the old floor pan. Gonna have to hammer that together, I guess. That looks pretty close. A little higher up might be nice. Still got a bit of a gap there. Even though I stomped it down pretty good, something else is holding it. Well, maybe not. Looks like it's almost, it is against right there. Guess it's just the shape of the pan. I can see that daylight up there between the new and the old. I was as careful as I could not to take too much off of that, but I'm going to run over it with the scribe again and see if I'm any further. If it's not any further, I'll take more off of it. Right here's where that gap begins. I'm pretty close to against there. It's definitely against in some places. It's just this toe board needs to bend forward. The gap's about an inch at this point. It's too bad they couldn't give me a little bit more pan. Or maybe it would be nice if the car was a little less rusty. Yeah, but then I wouldn't have got it for the same price probably. Oh well, you gotta do what you gotta do. There's a pretty good bit of that toe board in bad shape, so I had to cut that out. You can see right into the body mount nut there, the cage that holds the nut. So I had to cut that out, and it makes it really short. The pan is really short for covering that, so I took some other pieces of pan from other projects and I bent these grooves in it. Just bent it by hand and bent it over the I-beam and pounded it until I got the grooves. And then I welded that in there. And now I have another piece that I made to extend up in this area. I just put it in there, had it all tied down, matched up the grooves, and clecoed it in place. Now I'm going to cut it and butt it in here, same as I did this one. Then I'll throw it back in and see how that fits. And then I just have the slice in the corner going around the corner over here. Have to fabricate that, and then I'll have a full toe board that's in good shape. Then I think I'll be ready to weld it in. Okay, this is it. I'm not taking it back out again. It's all bolted down. Drilled all my holes for spot welds. Have them along the sides down on the rocker. I drilled a hole here. Got 2 holes for spot welds, and I drilled a hole and put a bolt in to pull that down. So that's down tight against that brace there. Did the same thing up here in the front. Have all these spot welds drilled and this brace that's here, and bolted it down tight to that. So I finished up my toe board pieces. Those are all butt welded in and ground off. And I pre-cut it to butt weld the whole way around until you get to here. Then this will be a lap weld. And then I'm planning to cut and butt the whole way around. And I pre-cut here at the brace. And then there's a tab from there to the next brace, and then that's pre-cut. So I should be able to pull those pieces out from the bottom. At least that's the plan. Passenger floor is all completely welded in. Just have to do some grinding yet. Most of it's all butt welded in. Whole way back into here, I even butt welded that. Managed to get the piece out from underneath. All spot welds are done. Only thing it's not done is the spot welds in the rocker, which I'm kind of thinking I'm going to do that on the rotisserie once I get the quarters and everything else done. Well, maybe. I have to finish up the truck that's on the rotisserie first. Well, I'm done with the floors for now, so I had to decide which I'm going to work on next. Whether it was going to be the trunk or the quarter panels. Get those in. I decided the trunk pan. So I cut the trunk out. I got underneath and cut alongside these braces. They're in really nice shape. Then cut out the 3 sections between the braces. Got that out of the way. Then I slit up through here, up through that hollow section, and then peeled the pieces off. So I'm down to a little bit of cleaning up yet. There's a little rust there. I'll cut it up a little higher. A little rust right here. Cut that up a little higher. And then I did trim around the edges of the pan, and then up at the front I cut all that off. That's the front section I cut off. I don't need to go that far. And then peeled off those flanges that were on the trunk. And now I can actually fit the trunk through the opening. Actually take it in there a little bit sideways, and it fits right in. Even this is 40 inches wide, and that pan was way more than 40, so it wouldn't have fit. But I trimmed it down so I can get it in and out. So the next thing is just a little bit more trimming as usual around the perimeter of both. And I'm not sure if I'm going to lap weld or I'll probably just try to do like a 1/4 inch lap weld on this. Really surprised though those braces are in such nice condition. Even the back panel, the inner panel there, a little rust right there, but for the most part that's very unusual. It's that solid. I'll take it. After much repeated trimming and fitting, it's looking like the trunk floor pan is getting pretty close. I have a little gap there. This side doesn't look too bad. I bent that from, I'll have to straighten that out, but it's getting there. But the pan just didn't want to sit down into that pocket by itself. I needed to add some weight to get it to sit down in there. So I got my I-beam in there and a set of 65 GTO heads that happen to be over there on the shelf. That seems to hold it down pretty good. Trunk's all welded in, completely welded the whole way around. Ground off all the welds. Put some paint on it. That's good enough for now. Next thing to do is quarter panels. I think that'll be the next episode.